Welcome to the Imperfect Dads podcast.
I'm Justin.
And I'm Devin.
We believe dads care deeply about their family and kids,
but they don't always have a space to discuss what their life looks like.
Our podcast is a space for dads to discuss the ups and downs of fatherhood.
And how they feel like they're holding it all together.
Or how they're not.
Thank you for joining us for this episode. On this episode, we have on Joel King from the Wildfeathers. We talked about sports and his love of baseball and his son starting to play baseball, people who have a dog thinking it's similar to having a kid, playing music with his son. We reflect on who we all were in high school. We talk about how you would find new music whenever you were younger, what his life on tour is like, his life as a student musician, and also trying to watch shows with your wife at the end of the day. In the middle of this episode, Justin had to cut out because his kid threw up and he went downstairs to help out. And we wanted to leave that in the episode because it's such a realistic moment of being a dad. Sometimes you hope you have an hour to hang out with someone or do something else, and then life happens. A lot of this podcast is about what day-to-day life being a dad is like. It felt wrong to not include that moment in here. And also just like one more thing.
Dad, just start the episode.
Oh, my bad.
Joel, you a big baseball fan or another sport?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure the other guys, I think, told you I listen to most of the podcasts. I'm the Cubs fan of the group.
Okay.
Okay.
I got a lot of opinions on that.
Where are you originally from? How did you end up a Cubs fan?
Well, from Tulsa, Oklahoma, and how I became a Cubs fan was when cable came in. It was like, before they had lights, so like late 80s. I was 4 or 5 years old, and we got WGN.
Yeah.
And that was like, every day that was the babysitter. So, especially that era, like Ryan Sandberg, Andre Dawson, Sean Dunston, Mark Grace, all them, so that's what, like, me and my brother are just hardcore Cubs fans. And a lot of people around there too. It's kind of like around here, the Braves, because the broadcast situation, but also, so I was a lifelong Cubs fan just from that. And then we played a thing at WGN. And you guys remember the Bozo show?
Yeah, it was on WGN. Yeah.
Dudes, the set is still there. It's like, it's kind of scary, but the grand prize game, which was like child beer pong.
Yes.
And it's all there. It's all...
I bet that's creepy.
It's kind of freaky. And because WGN is like a hollow shell. We just did it again, I guess a few months ago. I don't know, in the fall. But yeah, man, it's kind of weird, but they don't do the Cubs games anymore because, streaming.
Yeah.
It's kind of, I went to go see a game in like 96 where, Sammy Sosa was like new. And it was the new guy. And, Harry Carey's still there and stuff. So, man,
Harry here.
Yeah.
I can't
Everybody.
Yeah.
But I had a friend who lived there from like what I think is the perfect age range to live there. He lived there from like he was 22 to like 25 or 26. Single, just out of college, had some money, but not a lot of money. And he lived in Wrigleyville specifically.
What year was it?
Oh, he would have been there like 2010 to 2013. So right before F.
Right
was it? Yeah.
before.
So, but he would still, though, it'd be like a random Thursday night. And he'd be like, Matt, Yankees are in town. I guess I'll walk down the street and see how much a ticket is. And, like get into, Wrigley is still a phenomenal, like it's still magical to go in there.
That's why they don't have to win, because people will still go see the Cubs because of the lovable loser thing that they've established. That they don't have to spend a lot. They don't have to be like, well, who cares if we win? Because no matter what, everybody expects us to lose. They still come to Wrigley because Wrigley's so magical.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I'm like, if the Yankees lost for 4 years straight, then heads would roll.
Mm-hmm.
But Cubs, hey, man,
that's
whatever.
Fine.
Yeah. It's a nice day.
How bad are the White Sox right now? Have they won?
Yeah.
Have they reached 10 wins yet? I don't think they have. So
man, just thank God I'm not a White Sox fan.
That's true.
Well, I'm a Reds fan. I get disappointed every single year.
Man. Well, the Reds that's the closest team to us in Nashville, right?
Yeah. They do. They do.
I gotta go up there.
Well, sometimes at the very beginning, but then they let everybody down at the end.
Yeah. I know how that feels every year. Yeah. Except for 1 year.
Yes. Are you a OKC fan? Like, are you a Thunder fan then?
No, I lived here after they formed
that makes
the
sense.
Thunder.
Yeah.
And also, I'm like, I'm the shortest guy in the band, and which is not we're not a tall band.
You're not a tall band. No.
Yeah, I think Ricky's like the tallest, isn't he?
Yeah. And he might be. He says he's 6 foot, but I doubt it.
Sure. Yeah.
But yeah, let's get the tape measure out. But no, so basketball is not in the cards for me. I don't really. I'll watch it. It's fun.
Yeah, I gotcha.
But now I'm not into it like baseball or football. I'm a huge Titans fan.
Cool. Nice.
So yeah. Yeah,
Nice.
And
Yeah.
So that's a rocky relationship too.
It is, yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
And how many kids do you have?
I have one child
Okay.
and a 7-year-old boy.
Ah, that's so
Okay.
fun.
Is he into baseball as well?
Yeah, dude, it's heavy duty. We're little league to the max.
Oh, cool.
Like,
Nice.
if as far as the dad part of this,
Yeah.
it's like finally, man.
Yeah.
It's like
No, really
Yeah.
though. Yeah.
you know, last year, what is it? Last year, because we've been doing spring and fall ball, so
Okay.
we got like a
Wow.
whole bunch of teams to keep up with. But a year or so ago, he was on the Cubs, and they we played Shelby Park here
Yeah.
in Nashville, and he's the Dodgers this year, which is kind of like, oh man. He's like, Dad, once you get a Dodgers hat, I was like, I can't do that. I can't.
No.
Matter of fact, I was watching the Cubs the other day, and he's like, and they were playing the Dodgers, and that was cool. But then, like the next day, they're playing somebody else, and he's like, "Well, I want to watch the Dodgers," and we're like, "We don't watch the Dodgers
How
in this
dare
house.
you.
We watch the Cubs. I don't care. Your baseball season's almost over."
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the sweetest deal. Yeah.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
so I have 3 kids. I have a 9-year-old and 7-year-old daughters, and then a 3-year-old son. And the 7-year-old is just starting to play soccer, and I'm like assistant coaching it. And it feels so different to like watch your kid play a sport in which they actually understand what they're doing a little bit. Because for so much, you're like throwing them a ball, and you're like, God, I hope I don't hit them in the face. And that's that's like most
Yeah,
of the relationship.
Yeah. Yeah,
And-
you're right, man. That was like, it was forever, like, but then finally, like, once
Yeah.
it kind of clicks, they're like, we're playing catch.
This is real. This is real.
Yeah.
Well, we did it for, this is why we're dads. Yeah.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah, you get that cool. That's the best, man.
It is. And then like you're like coaching your son on, or you're like coaching them like, okay, if you actually just turn your foot inward, then you'll get a better pet, and you're like going through all these little tips that your dad probably told you. And it just feels so cool to have that moment with your kid. You'd be like, I'm not saying this is why I became a dad, but this is really nice.
Yeah.
that this happened.
Yeah. Did you play soccer though?
I
Your
did. Yeah,
assistant coach?
I grew up
Okay.
playing soccer. Yeah.
Well, I
So-
see it behind you right there. Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, you're good. Yeah.
See, I never played soccer in my
Okay.
life. So like when the opportunity, like, man, I don't know. I guess you kick it and try to get in the goal. But
Yeah.
It always frustrated me, and because I never knew the rules. I played when I was younger, but never knew the rules, and was just like, screw this. Basketball.
What about your kids, Justin?
My kids are 4 or almost 4.
Almost 4.
And then 6 months. So
Man,
Yeah.
right on.
yeah, she
In the thick of it.
yes, yeah. Pryor's the 6-month-old, and then Ada is 3.5 now. And she hasn't shown any interest in any sports, but she does karate at her daycare every Monday. So that is
That's
pretty
awesome.
cool. I showed Devin a video of her breaking her board, getting her new belt, which was pretty cool. Although I wasn't there
Awesome.
taking that video, she would not. If me and my wife were there, she shuts down and will not participate.
Oh yeah. I think
So-
my son went through a little phase of that where it's like, oh,
Yeah,
bashful around us.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was just like,
It's like when you
I
guys
was-
leave, he's great.
yeah, when we went to the first ceremony, I was so excited and just so proud. And then she didn't dress. She didn't do any of the activities. She sat the entire time, and I was just like, all right. So the instructor was like, all right, in our next class, we'll have somebody else videotape her breaking her board and everything like that. So it was fun.
Dang.
It was fun watching that.
It's brutal.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, you have to get a disguise, man.
Yeah.
I know. I was telling my wife, I was like, we should probably dress up as some random people and sneak in and
Yeah.
Yeah, see what happens.
yeah,
that
sneak
always
into a
turns out well.
daycare. I'm
That's-
sure
turns
that'll
out well. And
you'll
say,
see us on the news.
I'm not Justin. I'm someone else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why, hello, little girl.
Yeah.
It's like, Dad?
Yeah, that'll work out well. Has your son done anything like that too much, Joel? Of where you're like, all right, man, let's do this. We got this. He's just like, no.
Yeah, a little bit. Or he'll just kind of back out. But he's actually, I think it maybe was a little phase because I think he's kind of out of it now. I think he's hamming it up these days.
Yeah, that's fun.
But he's 7, so yeah, he's into it.
It's different. Yeah. I feel like, because my 3-year-old son, And we're trying to do like soccer stuff with him, and it's literally just like lollipops. So like little kids will run around with a soccer ball, and then after like 40 minutes they get a lollipop, and nothing is intense. They aren't playing on teams. It's like,
Yeah.
and he just sits on the ground and watches everyone else do it. And I'm just like,
Man.
oh man. And then the dad in me is like, you don't deserve a lollipop. And I'm like, dude, that's not gonna.
Yeah.
You can't do that to him.
You don't get a lollipop this time.
Only the people who play get lollipops. Yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't turn
Only
out well.
winners.
Only winners get Pizza Hut and lollipops. Yeah, exactly. You get it.
But no,
Yeah, dude.
for me, I didn't want to force anything on her, but I did buy a soccer goal with a soccer ball, a basketball goal with like.
And gave her
Like
the
the
set
smaller-
it out. Like,
Yeah.
Like
And then
kicking the
I
Dalai
got her-
Lama.
I'll leave this here.
I got her a little T-ball set. It's all pink. She loves pink. So
Yeah.
I'm hoping, I mean, she actually is connecting with the ball.
Yeah,
So
dude.
I was super excited about that. And she seemed super excited as well. And then I accidentally pegged her with one of the wiffle balls.
It's going to happen, dude. It's
It
going to happen.
happens.
It's going to happen.
Yep.
It's
And-
happened numerous times if she
Yes.
plays. Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, go out there and try to catch it. And I went,
No.
and I hit it and pegged her right here. And then she just started bawling. And she
Man.
didn't want anything to do with it after that. So
Yeah,
hopefully I didn't
well,
scar her.
You know, I mean, I have a son, so I didn't give him any options. I'm forcing everything that I love down his throat.
Yeah.
I don't care. You know, like, listen, you know, I have one older brother, and that's it. So I was expecting Harrison to pop out ready to play ball, like ready to play catch. Like I was never around babies. I was not a baby dude. Like I always wanted to hang out with the older kids, you know?
Yeah.
And so I had no idea about they can't even move their head.
Yeah.
They're all the different stuff that goes along with it. I was like, oh my God, I thought that they would just kind of like be moving around. I had no idea. I mean, I saw my friends would go through it, like, but we all kind of had our kids around the same time.
Yeah.
And stuff. So it was totally different because I feel like, man, like I'm a total useless POS.
Yeah.
I'm just here, you know, and until when they get, the older they get, the more important you are and stuff. And that's what's the best thing about the dad. It's like the opposite. Like when mom's like, they were inside me and they came out and they gradually go apart. But I think his dad's is the opposite. Like I'm a useless turd.
Yeah.
And then they start needing you, and then they start looking up to you, and they see, you know, father figure of the house and all that stuff, you know?
Yeah.
So
Now, I will normally tell like people who are about to be new dads, like, hey, just so you know, the first 2 years of that child's life, you're going to be wondering, what am I doing here?
Yeah.
Like, what? Like, you guys do want me here, right? Like, because the kid prefers the
Should
mom.
I go?
Yeah, should I just head out? I'll come back. But you
see
can't.
when you're grown up.
Yeah. But also, like, you can't, like, until you experience it yourself, it doesn't matter. Like, all your friends can be like, hey, Joel, the first year is going to be tough in ways you didn't anticipate. And you're like, yeah, of course, there's a newborn. And then you hold that baby and you're like, what am I doing? What happened?
Yeah. You're starting to think like maybe I should start eating better.
Yeah.
Maybe I should be around. I don't know.
Yeah.
You know, like, but yeah, I mean, but you can't ask for anything more. I mean, it's the most, that's when people, the biggest thing that heats me up, and I hope these people are watching or listening, is when people say that you're like, oh, my dog's my child.
Yeah.
Like, I don't have any kids, but I got 3 dogs.
But I have a dog. Yeah.
Or something like that. I was like, oh, really? Who's at home watching your dogs right now? There's only one thing to say.
Yeah.
Oh, really? But yeah, we have just a lot of friends that say that, and I always have to chime in with it. You know, I was like, oh, really? Who's watching your dogs? Yeah.
You just had to tell them you have no idea.
Yeah.
No
it's
idea.
Like, do not compare your dogs to children.
The other thing you should say is you should be like, oh, how are you financially planning for your dog's future? Are you setting money aside for your dog's college fund right now?
Yeah.
What if your dog gets married? Are you setting money aside for that right now?
Yeah.
Are you? No. Interesting. All right.
If
cool.
your dog needed a heart transplant, would you rip your own heart out and give that to that dog?
I don't think so.
Probably not. So,
and if you would,
but
you got something wrong with you.
Yeah, that's something. Yeah,
that's a different discussion.
Maybe that is a special dog. I don't know.
No, but it's true though, because I always try to give people grace, because in those moments I'm like, Devin, they are trying to relate to you. They do not know how to relate to you. They are doing their best, but it's still in the back of your head. Your ego is just so flared up, and you're like, Have you ever gone like 3 months without sleeping and you're still trying to be nice to your wife and a baby that has no independence? No?
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Talk to me then.
It's a completely different life.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a completely different thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyways, those people, they just don't know because they don't have kids. You can't explain it really.
Yeah.
I mean, you can give all the different things.
Yep.
But still, it's like, okay, you don't know if you can love something like that until you have it. Because so if you haven't had it, you don't know, So it's different than loving a partner or your parents or anything else,
Yeah.
It's yours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyways.
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah. Does your son play any musical instruments?
Yeah, he's upstairs. I can hear him playing now.
Nice.
Yeah, he's getting back into it because, when he was born 2017, so what I think our third record, we were like, had him in it as a baby, like in the studio, the record we did with Jay. And then, a few tours and like, so he's like side stage, like doing like our Seeger tour, Bob Seger's farewell thing. So he must have been 4 or something like that, then 3 or 4 or something, but he's kind of been around it a lot. And so when he's like 2 or 3 around that time, he would like always want the ukulele and just kind of act like he's playing. And like, I think he's got talent, look at him strumming, and, and then, once he starts going to school and then like, we got a Nintendo and we got a bunch of other things. He kind of like, he doesn't really want to play that much, but then just in the past, like 2 months, he wanted a little guitar because mine were good. I have like 15 guitars here, but even small parlor guitars, and but he needs his, so he wanted one of those Loog guitars. Which, man, as a musician, ordering a guitar from China when I have like this is a 1937.
Yeah. Yep.
And you can have it. No, so we got him his guitar, and so that like it's kind of awesome. He keeps it up there, not down here with all the other stuff, but as of like a couple months ago, he's like really wanting to get back into it. Smoke on the Water, and then another one, Bites the Dust, and then so now I was like, we have to start learning chords. So he's been playing E and D, or I mean A and D, like for the past like week or so, and so we're doing A, D, and G because we're gonna try to do Twist and Shout or something. So he's getting into chords, and man, his strumming's good. I always tell like. I told him the other day, I was like, I taught people how to play guitar, like when I was in, right out of high school. And you're the fastest learner I've ever had. Mm-hmm. And he was like, he's been telling everybody, Dad's isn't the fastest learner. Dad's isn't the fastest learner.
That's so sweet.
That's awesome, man.
That's cool.
Yeah, man.
The Loog is like, it's only like 3 strings, right? So it's pretty impossible
to not play. Well, this is a 6-string one.
Oh, I didn't know they made 6-string ones.
Yeah, it's just a regular guitar.
Cool, sweet.
And yeah, I got him the 6-string one because, he already knew some ukulele chords. And we have a couple ukuleles.
Yeah.
And so I had to explain to him, because when I was first teaching him, I played on guitar. Yeah. And he's like, you're not doing the same fingering as that I am. I'm like, no, okay. So now he understands that a D on the ukulele is a G on a guitar and stuff like that. So he's totally getting it. I think he kind of came back around. I think he kind of got burnt out for a while there, baseball and Nintendo and stuff. But he's getting back into it.
Dude, that's so cool though.
That is.
But either that or he wants something. Like he's like, Dad, let's practice guitar. And I'm like, right on, let's go.
Yeah, that's got to be special times.
Yeah. Do you guys kids play any instruments?
So I have like 3 or 4 guitars. We have a keyboard, and they're still in the phase of like the strumming on it. My oldest daughter, who's 9, really likes Taylor Swift. So I've done a couple of like, all right, here's like a super simple Taylor Swift song to play on piano, and I'll chart it out for her. And then I kind of try to figure out how to keep the other 2 siblings completely away from the piano because, they're the phase where they just come up and they slam on it. And she's sitting there very methodically, like trying to figure out how to do an arpeggio. And I'm like, no, I'll keep these away. I'll keep these kids away. So she's the one who shows the most interest. The other 2 like the noises that are made whenever they strum the guitars very loud.
Yeah.
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 I have 0 musical talent in my body, so I am not the one that would be teaching any of our kids. Haley was in band, like marching band, in her high school and maybe in her college. I can't remember off the top of my head.
What'd she play?
She played clarinet.
Awesome.
So
woodwind.
Yeah. So if anything, our kids might get into something like that.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I wish I had any musical talent, either drums, guitar, even the daggone triangle. I wish I could play that. I can't do that.
Dude, man, I don't know. It's just something, I don't know. It picks you, I think,
Yeah.
It's like I saw you guys had Sadler on.
Yeah.
Sadler, I played on some Sadler, a few of his records and some stuff that he produced. But he has a song about like my new guitar, like can't wait to get home today because I just want to play. I was like, dude, that's like it's kind of like it's a rock and roll like kind of funny rock and roll song. But I was like, man, that's like my favorite song because I thought that it was just like that's me when I was like in high school. I just can't wait to get home, drawing a picture of a guitar on my homework or whatever. So music was just all I've ever done. Like ever since I realized that I wasn't going to grow and I couldn't play baseball and I wasn't going to be anything athletic,
When
it's not like
you
it's
saw
not like
your
I'm like,
ceilings in
yeah.
other areas of life, and you're like, no, I haven't
Dude.
found the ceiling here yet. So let's keep exploring this one.
But yeah, man. So once that happened, like around eighth or ninth grade, seventh or eighth grade, something like that. It was over. It was over for me, man. I did have a flashback the other day at Harrison's. Like they had the opening day for their baseball league at Shelby Park, and then they have these kids from like East Nashville.
Okay.
Again.
Pause.
Not kidding.
I gotta go. I'm sorry. I'll be right back.
You're good, man.
Okay.
Anyway, opening day, Shelby Bottom Park.
Okay, so
Yeah.
like they have all the teams out there, and then they have the national anthem and everything, and then they had some kids from like the East Nashville High School.
Yeah.
They were gonna give you like they got scholarships or something, or they were going on to play baseball, and like one of them threw out the first pitch, and I looked at those kids, and they looked like monsters, dude. They looked. It was like, and then I remembered, I was like, man, why did I stop playing baseball? I can't really think about that. I was like, oh, I forgot that like people like that were twice the size of my dad throwing at me, and I was smaller than I am now.
Yeah.
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 And a late bloomer at that.
Right.
So it was like, hell.
Yes. I grew up in Indiana, and I'm tall. I'm 6'4". And by the time I was in high school, I was
Man.
already like 6'1" or something
Lucky.
like that.
So
Yeah,
lucky.
whatever. I'm horrible at concerts. I just block everyone's view. But I remember like, yeah, because like people would be like, why don't you play basketball? And I'm like, I have no aggression. Like I have like, if you're like, hey, go box that guy out, I'm like, if he gets that
Yeah.
rebound, that's fine. And now as like an older person, I'm like, man, now I understand like competitive advantages. Like I just wanted to be a sad kid who played acoustic guitar whenever I was in high school.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, oh, now I get it. Now I understand how my body can actually move and like box out, get in the way, take a shot and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
dude.
But like at 17, no, man, I had no idea. Like I just looked at those guys and they're like, they'll elbow me in the stomach and I won't like this. I'm good.
Oh man, where I grew up in Oklahoma, and it was outside of Tulsa. I mean, it's a place called Oologah. But I mean, it was like Varsity Blues, like type thing, or Friday Night Lights. It was like, but as far as we were going, like there was a line in the sand. Either you're like a football player or, these other crowd.
Yeah.
And so I couldn't, I hated football. I hated all that stuff until moving to Nashville.
Really?
My wife moved out here, and her whole family is like OU freaks.
Yeah.
And so they love
yeah.
OU.
Mm-hmm.
And then the Titans at the time, like one of the first years I was here, they had lost like 6 in a row. And so like tickets were cheap, and they had spray painted code blue all over town. And it was a really like depressing era. And so we went to a Titans game, and then we just started like, my wife knows every player like too. And we were like, we just got way into it. Now that I kind of got past the high school thing.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
After so long,
Yep.
Now I'm a freak. We got a fantasy team with a band
That's
and with a bunch of
awesome.
other guys in other bands that are
Yeah.
around town and stuff. And it's, man, yeah, it's like, I can't wait for football season. It's
Yeah.
great.
Well, like whenever I was in high school, sports wasn't like soccer. I did in high school a little bit, but like the people who played it and took it seriously, I didn't want to be connected with, because they were very different than what I was.
So yeah, man.
And like now as an adult, like sports is this very unifying and very connecting thing. But whenever you're in high school, sports are very much like it's a line in the sand. You either
dude.
you play football or you're an idiot. And it's like,
Yeah.
well, I guess I'm a sad idiot then. Here we go.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. It's just like, oh yeah, he's that, rock and roll guy.
Yeah. He's in the corner with an acoustic guitar. And you're like,
yeah,
that's
I know.
fine. Yeah.
And here's another thing about my son. Like they have uniforms and stuff, which is like my school, like it was the days of Jinkos and stuff like
I'm
that.
with you, man. Yep.
So, but like when I went and saw like Weezer and Green Day and all these bands, like this is like 98, 99. And when I come back to school the next day, since there's not any online shopping.
Yes.
And even like if you go to the mall, you couldn't find like a Weezer or Green Day shirt, you know? So you come back and you're wearing the band shirt and it's like, this is my identity.
It is, yes.
You know, like, yeah. And it was like, and so I feel like a lot of this is a, like heavy, like dad mode, what I feel is that a lot of what we went through has nothing to do with how kids are raised now.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
You know, it's like, man, like everything that was like that we did or everything we knew, or there wasn't just everything, the way the world is, you know, it's not that different between my parents and where I am, you know, the radio station, rock and roll was big. Like you could see like even the fashion changed from every era and everything like that. And now it's just like social media, free for all, whatever group, like, you know, you don't, whatever you're into, you could find somebody who's into it. And I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing, but
I don't either. Because, like, yeah, I mean, you probably would relate to this also because we're about the same age. Yeah, like I remember being like in late middle school, early high school and finding Tony Hawk Pro Skater and all of that era of like, how do I wear these clothes? How do I get a skateboard? How do I listen to more Goldfinger? You know, like that soundtrack was the soundtrack of my high school years, basically.
Dude, yeah.
And that was because like, it's weird because of the internet and everything, you have access to so many things. But like whenever, I mean, I grew up in Southern Indiana. It was probably similar to you of like, hey, if the Best Buy or the record store in my town doesn't carry this record or CD, I'm not listening to it because there's not a way for me to listen to it. Whereas like now I could listen to any Wild Feather song I want at any point in time.
Yeah. It's not the same.
It's not the same. Yeah.
It's like, I remember going and buying records, especially around like 2001, I think the life-changing year of my life, I think, with like when the bands, all the, like the Strokes.
Yeah, all the New York bands,
and the Vines and the Hives, the whole thing, I bought into it. I thought it was going to be the next Nirvana.
Yeah. I mean, this was marketed to you also. MTV Wisconsin, like the Vines are the next Nirvana. Yeah.
Yeah, and then like everything was like, but Nickelback and Limp Bizkit were still number one.
Because you lived in the Midwest also.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, they weren't like, it's like, well, they're playing stadiums, and these guys, I saw them all on their first tours. I've seen them a whole bunch of times on that when they first came out, and I thought this is going to be it, but you know, it ended up not being. But I would go to the store, but the whole point of this was I would go to the store and be like, oh, whatever the band is, or whatever. I like Kings of Leon's EP.
Yeah.
Where I saw, I was like, man, this is like, or whatever you see at the back of Rolling Stone. I remember, you know, Jaron Johnson from American, or what's it called now? Cadillac 3?
No, I don't know.
That band a band around town. He's written a whole bunch of songs. They used to be called American Bang. Before that was Bang Bang Bang. And all the guys in the band have written all these massive hits, and they're like legends around town. And he's a great dad too. He should be on here.
Yeah, happily.
But I remember when I first started coming to Nashville in 2006, we had toured with this. It's like, dude, were you in this band, The Kicks? Like, I bought it regular at Best Buy just because it was the band at the time, and I had money. And and he was like, yeah, I was a drummer in that band, you know, like, but it's really crazy. Like, and you would buy it just because one song, and you would just tolerate a whole record just because I saved up $14 for this CD. And I'll be damned if I'm not going to get my money's worth and listen to it, you know?
No, man, we all had those bands. I remember that with like, like 30 Seconds to Mars. I remember like, cause it was similar to that vibe of like alternative and blah, blah, blah. And I remember like one of their albums being like, oh, I like this single. I bet I will like every song on this album because that's what you hoped for back then. You didn't just like, you hoped there were like 5 songs on it that you liked because you're about to work whatever your dumb high school job was for a week to pay for this one CD in which you only like, I think some people said the Daniel Powder album that has like Had a Bad Day. Everyone consistently is like one good song. Rest of the album is trash. Get it out of here.
Yeah, dude. I think of a few of those.
Yeah.
Eagle Eye Cherry, I think maybe.
Yeah.
I can't remember the rest of the record.
Yep.
Yeah. And then 9 Days or Story of a Girl.
Yeah.
That song. Yeah, dude. I don't know. There was a few that like, and your buddies would be like, you know, this is horrible. I'm like, okay, I'm not getting that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, that was, you know what? Actually, it would work in the favor sometimes, like, because like I love Ryan Adams.
Yeah.
I mean, not I like his music. Anyways, so but I remember when Cold Roses came out, and I was like, and this is like when I'm on the road. I remember buying it in Iowa. Like, let's whip into this mall. I'm gonna go pick up that. And I was on the road like at 18 years old. So like, I can't remember what year that came out, but I remember I was on the road and I picked it up. We put it in the van on the way to the next gig, and I was like, "What the hell is this?" And I was like, "What?" I'm like, "Man, this doesn't sound like the last one or and all this other stuff." And then, but we're like, but I bought it, so we're just going to keep on listening to it. I mean, I don't know if it was before iPods or maybe they were just coming in or something like that, but we had a CD collection in the van, but we listened to it more and we're like, man, like
I get
now it's still my favorite record of his. And like, but if I wouldn't have been forced to listen to it by buying the CD, I would have listened to it one time on the thing, but like, not for me, move on. Yep. There's a lot of bands that, take a long time for you to get into.
Yeah, totally.
And everything.
Yeah.
So maybe that might be lost a little bit with the streaming and everything.
No, I worry about that, or kind of what we're like talking a little bit about here is like, that was our experience, was you sat with stuff, right? Like you would buy something and you would sit with it. And like that then makes me feel very connected to what I ended up doing, right? And like for our kids, I'm like, you have so much access to so many things. And if you don't like something, you just choose something else. And I'm like, that's good to know what you want. But also I do feel like there's got to be some lesson of working through something. And like, that makes me worried for our kids a little bit to be like, hey, so if you don't like it, you just move on. Ugh, how do you challenge yourself? How do you rethink things? How do you reframe it? Like a lot of why I like albums that I like is because I learned, if I didn't like a album from my favorite band, I would just go read all their interviews and be like, what are they going through? Because that's going to influence their music. And then I'd become more empathetic and like the album.
Of course. That's why usually when you read about a record, I was not a huge Bruce Springsteen fan, but then when I liked I have a few of his records, but then when I read this thing about, Nebraska, and it was like, it was like, 5 or 10 years ago, but it was like, oh my God. And then of course, and then like the hype was there. And, the same way that like the Replacements, I resisted for a while. And then once I got it, it was just like, oh my God, I can't get enough, But like you were saying with having everything at your hand, it kind of like, it does take away a little bit. Like Jack White always talks about putting restrictions on things and like, having just a little bit to work with sparks your creativity.
It does.
And sparks a lot of different things. And like, I don't know, it helps you out more. I do think that's a totally different thing now. Like, man, what if you could just, hey man, when I was in like high school, I got way into the Beatles and I'm like just huge Beatle freak, but no one, it was like, you like the Beatles? That's lame, but otherwise now I'd get online and be like, I got a whole friend group that likes exactly what I like, but I don't know, man.
Yeah, it's definitely different. Like, whenever I was in high school, I loved all like the emo pop punk bands and stuff like that. And I was the only one of my friends who would find the bands and bring them back to us, So like that also then became my identity of like, hey, I found this CD from this band. This guy was in this, do all the connections and stuff like that. And that's like where a lot of my friendships were founded, was me being the guy who knew music stuff. But yeah, if they could have just gone online and Googled this band and found all the other side projects, then like, not that I don't have a purpose, but it changes the dynamic of the friendship a bit,
Of course, man. Yeah. You need those friends. And you need those friends to be real, not just like,
Yeah. It wasn't that curated. I didn't read like the Wikipedia page on some obscure band and I'm reciting it to you word for word. Yeah.
Yeah. Justin, you make it back?
You good? Yes.
Did you have a due-to emergency?
Yes.
Yes, I was ready.
So, it was so Ada this morning and just now, like she'll get food stuck in her mouth and then instead of letting her mom or me like scoop it out, she will just hyperventilate, panic, and then just vomit everywhere.
No.
Man.
So she did that this morning with just my wife being there. I was at work. And then Haley was just like, I'll probably have to come in and get you again if she does it again, just joking around. And sure enough, it happened again. I come downstairs and Briar's screaming like crazy. Ada is panicking and crying and there's vomit all over the floor. And Haley's is like, I can't do this by myself.
I need help. And you're like, yep.
Meltdown, dude.
Yep.
reactor meltdown.
I think
So sorry about that.
You're good, man.
No,
I'm glad you're prioritizing your family. Like that's what matters, man. Yeah.
That's what this podcast's about, man.
Yeah, man. Well,
This is real. That's real, man.
that's right. Also, though, like the most terrifying words you can ever hear from your wife whenever you have kids is "it happened again." That's like,
yeah.
There's nothing. I have never had an experience in which I look at my wife and say "it happened again," and it's because something good follows that sentence.
Yeah. It's not like it happened again. I want $1,000 scratch.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
No, doesn't happen. No.
You're doing the bath for the kids, like it happened again. What happened again? Oh, they just washed their bodies. They were fine. It was all good. Like,
yeah, they put themselves to bed.
Yeah, put themselves to bed. Really impressive. We're great parents. No, it's always followed with
It's bad.
A bodily fluid that needs. Whenever we could hear her say it happened again, I'm like, there's a body fluid that needs to be cleaned up.
Yeah. I just might as well just tell me what to do.
Yep.
Yeah, I panicked. I ran towards her, and she was like, "No, I got her.
Get
Briar." So I was like, "All right,
go."
Yeah, man.
But once again, your son's only 6 or 7 months, Justin, and those first 2 years of a newborn's life, you're just kind of like, I want to be helpful because I love you guys. What is helpful in this moment? Please tell me.
Just keep me breathing.
Just keep it breathing. That's it, man. Can you tell us what you do for a living? Because I know you are in the Wild Feathers. I'm assuming you also do a lot of co-writes and stuff. What's your daily world look like?
Yeah. Writing, playing music, doing the Wild Feather thing is the number one, like for as far as calendar schedules. But then and session work, actually my bass playing.
Cool. Nice.
As far as like actual money, like you actually see it.
Yes.
Opposed to like writing, it's like playing the lottery. But my bass playing, which was a total fluke, how I became a bass player. But I got a lot of work. I just did. Have you seen we just did a session with Eric Church for this NASCAR thing.
Yeah.
Like so Jay Joyce, producer that produced our first 3 records, he calls me a lot, and he's giving me a lot of work. So I did like Lainey Wilson's first 3 records, and Miranda Lambert's, and
cool.
But he called me for Eric Church the other day. Is like, you want to come in and play the bass? It's Old Man Down the Road. It's doing a CCR cover.
Cool.
And me being me, I was like, well, that's Jump Over You. That's not CCR. But it's on center field, man. So I get there, and he's like, oh, I told you the wrong song. It's Up Around the Bend. And like, Eric Church has a tour bus at the studio for one song for one day. Like, I was like, man, I've been practicing. I got this song down. And then we get in there, and Eric's cool. And it's a lot of my buddies.
Yeah.
Fred Eltringham and Rob McNelly and Jed Hughes was there.
Yeah. Jed's so cool.
Dude, Jed's, he's been in a lot of the sessions that I work on with Jay.
Yeah.
And so he says, we're going to do it's Up Around the Bend, and it's the Amazon was broadcasting NASCAR or something. He said that this is going to be the theme song for it. I was like, well, why would you think that Old Man Down the Road would be the theme song for NASCAR? It's like an insult. But Up Around the Bend is, hey, you know.
Yeah.
It's great. But so we did that song. Nerves were kind of going because I know the song, but I wasn't listening to it hardcore like I had been the other tune that we were supposed to do. Yeah, man. It was cool. So just stuff like that. It's a lot of country stuff.
Justin, do you need to go check downstairs?
Yeah.
I'm going to be.
Can you hear them?
Yeah. You're good. Go check it out. Yeah.
I was making sure it wasn't my kid.
No, yeah, you're good for now. Not the same experience, but I played a friend's wedding on mandolin, which mandolin is an instrument that I casually play. Like, I know basic chords and that's it. And whenever we showed up, the guy who was singing the song was like, I'm just going to change the key real quick. And I was like, I do not know this instrument well enough you just casually change the key. I mean, he's like, no, you just play here now instead. And then they did the practice run up for walking down the aisle. And I was like, you didn't even give me like 30 seconds to practice this.
Dude.
And I was like, you guys are going to regret this decision, but I'll figure it out. But oh my God, I'm so sorry.
Dude, I had an experience that is like that, but times 10.
Really?
I'm not trying to one up you.
Yeah. Keep going.
Let me tell you. Let me tell you this. This is a terrifying story. Lainey Wilson has this hit song, Heart Like a Truck. And there's like a little bass fill that I do in it. But, we're in the studio. They put this sheet in front of us and we work it out a few times, play it, mess around for a while, and you got it. And then you never think of it again. And so this is like a year or two ago, a couple years ago. And one of the guys calls me and was like, dude, we're doing this CMA thing at the Symphony Center, broadcast on TV or whatever, and our bass player got COVID, and we're doing Heart Like a Truck. It's like number one.
Yeah.
And can you come down and play it? And it's like in 3 hours. And I was like, no problem, dude. I'll go down there and I'll have to be tested and everything. But he's like, but we've changed the key. We've extended this part and this other thing. And I'm like, well, and also, first of all, I haven't played it since the day we recorded it, like years earlier.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, I'm going over it and stuff. I've got 3 hours to get it together and go down there. And then I have the other bass players like in-ears in, and there's like count-offs to tracks, and there's no rehearsal. And I look out.
No rehearsal?
No rehearsal. Alan Jackson's front row. Reba McEntire's over here.
Yeah.
The thing goes up, and it was like nerves. And luckily, I'm just shadowy in the back playing. But man, I was like, it was just, I was on my toes.
Yeah. No, man, that's
but then it's one of those things you like. It's like exercise. Like after it's done, you're like, man, I can't believe I did that. I can't believe I pulled it off. You know, like then what if I would have messed up on the award show? You know, like Lord.
I'm going to assume that's why you chose bass as your instrument, because I feel like you can hide in the background in bass, you know? And if you smudge the note a little bit, like the average listener won't really notice, so you'd be okay.
Well, there's only one thing, though. If you hit a completely wrong note, it sounds like an elephant.
It does sound like an elephant.
But if you just lay down the basics, depending on the track, you know, like, you can just hold it down and not do anything fancy. And, or just stop for a second and act like it was part of the song. Yeah. Come back in. You know, like there's a few tricks.
There are a couple. That's, anytime I ever played bass was like in church youth group, because there were like 7 people who played guitar.
Oh, yeah.
And
I started playing bass.
Yep. So it's like, okay, you can play the 8th acoustic guitar in this song, or you can play bass. And I'm like, does someone have a bass? Because I would much rather figure that out than add more off pattern strums.
Oh, yeah. A lot of string. Yeah, dude. I started the same way. I played at like church camp. And, man, I was like anything to play in the band and everything. I was like, well, they were guitar players that are better than me and everything. But, yeah, cause they had a bass and that was the first time I ever played bass. I was like, and they asked, do you play bass? Like, of course I do. You know, like I never played a bass in my life.
Dude.
The same notes as a guitar. I've played with a bass player before. I've held one. Yeah. You know, I can play that thing.
Of course. And then they hand you an upright bass or a double bass and you're like, oh, no. I'm not that type of bass player.
Yeah. Hold on.
Dude, I would be losing my mind if I was, to perform a song that you had recorded years before is one thing, but I'm sure in your head you had that moment of like, hey man, there's Alan Jackson. There's Reba McEntire. By the way, this song's number 1. Everyone knows it.
Yeah. I know. And if you know the song, there's a very distinct bass fill in the song that was like on the Dodge or Ford commercial. Yeah. There was, and everything. Yeah, dude. Like, but you know, it does make me like next time I'm in the studio, I'm going to make it real easy now. No, but just in case I have to play it again.
Nothing fancy.
Just in case I have to play it again, I'm going to like make sure it's real simple.
You're trying to walk this line of being unique enough that you get the call back from the producer, but not so unique that you forget it completely if you have to play it live in an emergency later.
Yes.
That's awesome. I love all of you guys on the Wild Feathers seem at this level where like you all are insanely talented. You've been musicians for like over a decade or so now.
Thanks,
you know, like, but like you still have these I appreciate you guys always sharing the moments where you're like on stage and you're like, what the hell? Like, what am I about to do here?
Dude, well, that's why being in a band is so awesome, is because like, it's like, I've done like solo shows and some acoustic stuff and then played with other people where like, you know, my buddies just like, can you come play rhythm guitar or something like that? And you never really know what's going on, or you kind of know the songs or something like that. You're just there to jam. But I feel like it's like going into battle with, you know, by yourself or with this armor. But then if you go, but in a band, it's like a tank. Like we roll in and it's almost like you can't mess up. When we've been playing as long as we are, somebody goes off, they're like, okay, we'll just go with you type thing. It's like, you know, keep it rolling. I'm gonna sing on the next one or something like that. It's not it's really weird. You can't hardly explain it, but you can just keep playing.
Yep.
Forever.
Well, I mean, when you guys played out here in Denver, I know your kick drum, like your kick pedal actually broke, like for your drummer. And you guys had to like figure out, like Ricky in real time, it's like, does anyone by any chance have like a kick pedal in their like car or something like that? And you're just like, we'll figure it out without a kick drum, but it'd be nicer if we didn't have to.
Yeah. I mean, if the kick wasn't fixed, like we'd have probably just done something different where Ben plays on the floor, Tom, or turned it over and hit it with a stick.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's like, I mean, we've done just pretty much anything you can think of.
What up, Briar?
All right.
I'm going to have to let you guys go.
Yeah, man.
I'm sorry.
You're good,
No
man.
problem, man.
She did it again.
Dude. Hey, more Justin.
This is perfect.
Hey, Briar.
It's perfect.
Justin, I'm more glad
She's
that
like,
you
who's
were.
that ugly guy?
Yeah, right. Which one? I'm more
Yeah.
glad, Justin, that you're making sure to keep an ear out for your family so you can make sure that you're taking care of them, because being available for that stuff and not leaving Haley alone whenever kids are throwing up is more important than doing a podcast.
Yeah.
Haley was just like, I'm about to lose my shit.
Cool. I'll go tell the guys. It's been fun.
Yep.
And this
So
just
Joel-
means I'll hassle Joel to come back on again. We'll keep
Yeah.
talking for a little bit, Joel, but don't worry.
Yeah.
Joel, I'm
Dude.
sorry. I appreciate you coming on, man. It was a pleasure.
No problem. I'll see you around town, dude.
Yes, sir. Let's do it.
Right on, dude.
All right.
Cool.
See ya.
All
All
right.
right, see you, dude.
I do not miss those early days of
I know,
kids, because it is that's what Justin just went through is reality. Is you're like, cool, I think I can go take an hour for myself. And then you hear in the other room a kid throwing up and you're like,
We can't just not go.
I should go. I should go, right? And then you go.
Oh, yeah.
And having time for yourself is already hard enough as an adult. And then you add kids and you're like, how do I keep my identity or sanity? I have no idea.
Yeah, man. I know. That's yeah, you can't just hear it and say
just
no.
sit there,
You can't just
no.
get what you're gonna do. So, nope, not my turn.
Nope.
You know,
Not my turn. Well, I already cleaned up the puke once today. Like, that doesn't matter. That's not, that's not the answer.
Dude, there's no reason. Yeah,
No.
you gotta go, man.
You do. To talk about your studio life a little bit. Whenever you are in the studio, like, what hours are you there? Are you around enough, like, to be available whenever your son gets home from school and stuff? Or is it kind of like, hey, I've got a day in the studio. I'll see you later.
Yeah, usually, well, it just depends on the session.
Yeah,
It
that makes
depends
sense.
on, like, if we're doing like a week-long thing, I'll want to stay available, and like I'll just kind of ask how long are we going, or if I need to go, I'll say that. But also my wife works from home.
Cool.
So we kind of switch off. Like if there's something if it's like if it's like a thing like Miranda's record.
Yeah.
I was like, hey, I want to be there.
Yeah.
Can you pick him up? Actually, that was a little different. He was in daycare at that time. But if it was now, then we would arrange for her to, like, I'd drop him off because that's way earlier than we start.
Yeah.
But she would, like, she could be able to pick him up. And she's pretty flexible with her job. She, like, most of the time at home, but half the time, in office. But yeah, so we kind of just work it out. If it's, and the same way you do it with the road, like, the hardest thing for us is that we have, like, no family here, so we have, like, so there's no free babysitting and there's no stuff like that. Sometimes they'll fly in, like, my wife's mom, like this last tour we just went on, and flew her in for a few days to help out and everything. And it also just depends on my wife's work. So what she's got going on.
Yeah.
And everything.
Now meeting a lot more dads who are musicians, like the whole weekend warrior thing for musicians makes a lot more sense. Cause like, yeah, if you are, cause like I know Jason Isbell, they're on their West Coast leg of their tour right now. And it's kind of like, hey, this is a 3-week tour. Why? Well, we're already on the West Coast. So like if you're all the way out here, you can't just like, especially being based out of Nashville. Like if you're going to get all the way out to California, you got to make it worth it. You got to.
Yeah, you don't want to have to go out there twice. We just did it in January.
Yeah.
And it felt long.
Yeah.
It felt like it was almost 3 weeks, and it was like, but we have to hit this so we don't have to hit it again and take another week out. But actually, this one we did on the East Coast I thought was really cool because it was only like a week and a half.
Yeah.
And so I only had to miss like one baseball game.
That's cool.
Opposed to if we were doing it every weekend, I would have missed them all, So I don't know. There's a classic Willie Nelson thing of like 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off. I mean, I wouldn't do that constantly. And also during the summer, if you're gone for like a week, you take your kids or something like that. And when we did the time before this, and we were in, we have some friends in Washington, D.C., and my wife and my son flew up there, and then we were in a van and trailer. It was like a week and a half or something like that. And so they rode with us for a couple shows, and then flew home for Pittsburgh.
That's cool.
And so it was awesome. Like having them, it felt really cool.
Yeah, that's cool. No, it seems like as you guys have all become dads, you've all become dads like at the same time. So
yeah,
it seems like trying to figure out, hey, how do we make sure our family's included because that matters? It's like it seems like a very natural conversation for you guys to have with each other.
Yeah, of course. And it feels like it's a sacrifice it's a sacrifice on both ends. Like, we know that the band would probably, do better if we were gone more. But it's like, but then, well, if the band's not, but we want to be here for this, So it's like there's a give and take to where, like, well, if we could do this really long thing, like, well, but we don't really want to because we want to be here for this stuff.
Yep.
We all have kids. It's not just one guy or something like that. So, yeah, it's, some of it's like, man, how do you feel bad for missing out on your kids' stuff? It's like, actually, it's like, man, we've been really sparse ever since our kids have been born. We've really, just very strategic areas and try to make it. And also, it's like everything after becoming a dad, you plan everything like a month or two in advance. It's like everything is set out. It's not. It's not like, hey man, want to drive to Chattanooga tonight? Like, hell yeah, brother.
Not so
Get those
much.
airs. Get those. Yeah.
No, it's very, very different than like, I still remember being like in college or in undergrad, and I'd be like, what are you doing tonight? I might drive to my friend's house. Cool. Where's he live? I don't know, like 4 hours away. Cool. Let's go.
Yeah. Yeah.
When are you driving back? Tomorrow morning. So you're going to drive there, get there like 4 a.m., not sleep, hang out for an hour or two, see his house, then drive back. Yeah, cool. All right, let's go. I'm in.
Yeah, man. Let's just rip.
Let's do it.
Of course. But yeah, everything's got to be planned out, and also even when things are spontaneous after being a dad, it's like your buddy calls you, like especially being in Nashville. So it's like, hey, we're in town, man. We're passing through. We're only in for the night. We're heading on, but come out and drink with us. I'm like in bed reading the text. 7 o'clock.
And you're like,
oh, dude, I don't think I can. Yeah, man.
When do you normally go to bed? Have you reached that full dad life where by like 10 p.m. you're asleep?
No, I tried. We have to try to stay up, everybody has this thing. It's like, okay, we're laying down and then he goes through phases where we can let him stay in there, but then it'll revert back. And it's an ongoing process of staying in there till he falls asleep or not, So there's that. And then we got a show we're going to watch. We're going to watch this. Dude. And it takes us, and then it takes you 2 or 3 nights to watch one.
Yep.
And,
yep.
Yeah, it's so like the last one we got through was like Severance, but luckily the episodes are a little shorter.
Yeah.
And everything. So that was nice. But yeah, it's all about that. As soon as they lay down, that little brief little moment.
Yep.
Brief little moment.
And also like it's if you also want to talk to your wife and connect with her, you have to do like I try to do that of like, all right, I'm pretty sure the kids aren't coming out of their rooms anymore. Are they asleep? That's not what I said. I said the kids aren't coming out of their room anymore.
Yeah.
And then it's like, okay, cool. We want to watch, like, we're trying to watch through the 3rd season of White Lotus, which is only 8 episodes. It's not that many, but we're like, like last night, by the time we caught up on our days and stuff, it was already like 9:45. We made it through 15 minutes of that episode before my wife fell asleep on the couch. And I'm like, of course you did. You've been up since like 6, 8, like you've had a whole day. But dude, to watch a TV show with your wife anymore and have it not like, you almost want to get a babysitter just so you can watch a TV show. And it feels so dumb, but so right at the same time.
Yeah. You just get a babysitter. Like, we're just going to be downstairs, but act like we're not here.
We're not here.
Like, it's like, yeah.
This is our staycation.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like those, like the parents that would like let you drink in high school at their house. Like, hey, as long as you're not out there drinking or something like that, we're gonna be right upstairs. But the exact opposite. Now you guys stay up here. Me and mommy are go downstairs and have some wine and hang out.
That's right, dude. Because it always happens. Like every kid, for some reason, knows whenever it's either the most violent scene of the episode, like in the Severance season finale when the guy gets like shot in the neck and blood spurting everywhere. Yeah. That's whenever I expect my kids to walk into the room every single time. And for them to be like, what's happening here? So like, I also love doing like the double check of, is my kid actually asleep before we watch this hyper violent episode of the show?
Oh yeah, dude. Oh yeah. Especially shows these days. Dude. Oh yeah. That's what I told a drummer. He is the youngest kid in the band. And, but when he was born, or he was talking about like watching him or something like that, I was like, dude, get it in now. Like, cause like when he's a baby, you can sit around and watch Goodfellas.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. They don't know what's
Wolf
happening.
of Wall Street, something. It's fine, like when they're little babies, but by the time they're like 2 years old, you're not gonna be able to watch anything cool.
Nothing.
Like that you want to watch, and it's probably gonna be dominated by something pretty excruciating. But
no, I still remember holding our oldest daughter, would have been born in 2016, and I remember like holding her as a newborn, trying to get her to fall asleep while my wife was trying to get any sleep at all and watching Game of Thrones with subtitles on so I could catch up on Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
But like now, oh God, no, I'm not putting on anything like that with my children awake
dude.
anywhere nearby at all.
Yeah, what's that?
Yeah. Oh, have you watched this new show? No, I get maybe 45 minutes of watching TV if I'm lucky.
Yeah,
every
dude.
day.
Yeah, I think we're lucky with the series the way they are now, since they're not. It's like, man, what about back in the day if you had to rent the movie and they're like, we're out a couple bucks, we gotta stay up.
That's right.
Get a Red Bull,
dude. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, no, it's now just like instant. Like you can find it immediately.
Yeah, and then you pause it and then come right back to it. So I can't complain.
Now, it's funny because I have noticed like I don't really watch movies anymore for that reason. Because like, oh, is this longer than like I think the Severance season finale was an hour and a half. I was like, oh, come on, guys. This is gonna take me a week. Come on.
That long scenic scene across the snow. We didn't need that.
Don't world build for me. Get to the point.
Yeah, don't bore us. Get to the chorus.
There you go. Said like a true songwriter. So, Joel, how we end every episode is we ask every guest that comes on 5 questions. And as I pull it up on my computer right now, so the first question is, did you have any backup names for your son? Like anything you almost named him?
Well, there was a few. I mean, my son's name is Harrison.
Yeah.
And my dog's name is Ringo. Lennon and McCartney were probably second in there. No, I second. And then I have a friend named Lennon, and then another friend of mine. We really always loved the name Julian, but then a friend of ours named his kid Julian. So then like a lot of them, because we were a little bit behind some of our friends. Nothing too serious, but we liked Julian, and then Liam and stuff. Okay. Any sort of like
so
kind of
British.
Like, dude, I mean, Oasis is me and my wife. One of our favorite bands. Beatles, my favorite band. But yeah, so we love that kind of stuff. So we were kind of going that way. But Harrison also, like I said, Cubs fan. The 3 biggest things in my whole life are, growing up, besides my family and my band.
Not right now. Yeah.
But I mean, just the constants that have been here are the Cubs, Star Wars, and the Beatles.
Nice.
So like anything that anybody buys me is going to be one of those things. So Harrison knocked off 2 of those. You got Harrison Ford and George Harrison.
That's cool.
It kind of felt all right.
So next question. Do you have a favorite TV or movie dad?
TV or movie dad?
Yeah.
Oh, I got one.
Yeah.
Hank Hill.
Hank Hill.
From King of the Hill.
Yep.
Yeah, dude. Like when I first started, I had a manager in New York, and she used to manage the All-American Rejects, which are also from Oklahoma.
Yeah.
So that was a big deal. But King of the Hill, it was either like coming to an end or something like that. But she was like, everybody in New York hates King of the Hill and everything. I was like, really? I was like, but now that I think about it, there's nothing cartoony about the show.
Not at all.
It's like a sitcom, and the dad and everybody else, usually it's like, oh, the wild and crazy dad, like Homer or Peter Simpson or Peter Griffin or something.
Yeah.
And everything, the dad is wacky and crazy. In King of the Hill, Hank Hill is the only one that's sane. His wife's crazy. His son's crazy. All of his friends are crazy. He's the only person that is like the voice of reason. It's so unique. And so I like it more now because it started to come on a few years ago and I started rewatching them and stuff. But I think they're great. It's dry. I'm like, King of the Hill, Hank Hill.
I think King of the Hill is also one of those definitely, like, whenever I was a kid, I didn't think it was funny because it was so dry and so unlike every other cartoon that I was watching. And now as an adult, I'm like, no, this show is like quietly hilarious in every single episode.
Yeah, I think I caught the wave a little bit early. Well, Beavis and the Butthead thing was huge. And then when King of the Hill came out, it's a letdown right when it first came out. But then it's like it was still on when like I started like finding out who Wes Anderson was and all that stuff. But my family had a video store like in the like 98, 99 for like a few years. So I was way into movies, way into shows and stuff like that. But I realized it like maybe halfway through King of the Hill how great it was. But I hadn't seen it in years. And it just started playing like on regular TV and stuff. But man, yeah. And it's also a lot like that's where I grew up. Like I grew up in Oklahoma, but it's a lot like that. Like, the stereotypes they play on.
Next question. Do you have a go-to replacement curse word? Like whenever you want to curse, but you shouldn't curse. Do you have one?
Oh man, I let it fly, man. I just replace it with what it is.
Okay.
No, I do catch myself just saying like, dang it. And like, or shoot, just the standards, just the standard type things like that. And first it's like you force yourself, like, but I think it catches on, like, I mean, I don't know. I usually cuss like a sailor.
Yeah.
I've been trying to be good on this podcast, actually.
Yeah, you've done well. Yeah, yeah.
My son's 7 years old, so when I say a cuss word, he's like, "Dad, that's a bad word."
Huh? Yeah.
I'm like, sorry,
Yep.
like, so. Yeah,
my 9-year-old did that the other day where something, I was like, "Fuh," and she was like, "You almost said it," and I'm like,
almost got caught.
And
man.
I'm like, yeah. I was like, how do you know what that word is? Like, like.
Yeah.
Then you have other questions. I'm like, Devin, you're being very defensive. She was right, and she was right. You almost said the F word in front of her. She wins.
Yeah.
Next question: do you have a favorite kids' toy or activity? Something you really like to do with your son?
Yeah. Well, as of late, playing the guitar has been just
Yeah,
like the most magical thing ever. But playing catch too.
Cool.
Like, because I mean, that's when you become a dad, or when you're thinking about, I'm going to be a dad, or I guess to a boy, you think about like, I can't wait to play catch with my son. That's like one of those things. But then, now it's a little bit more. It's like, okay, now what happens if there's a pop fly? It's just getting real technical and everything like that. There's a lot more into it now. But playing guitar is great because, and I think that when I tell him he's doing good, it means more to him because he knows I play guitar.
Yeah.
He knows I'm not a real bass-off player.
Yeah.
So
that's cool.
yeah.
Last question is best parenting advice you've received.
Man, that I've received.
Or you could also, if that stumps, you could also do best parenting advice you'd want to give as well.
Yeah. Okay. I guess just telling somebody, like, I think from like either my parents or my wife's parents, that you're just the encouraging words of saying like you're doing the right, like you're doing good, you're doing really great, because I think that when you look back, like you're like, oh well, you look back on the crib pictures and there's blanket, or there's all these things all the things have changed over the years, or people smoking in the house or something.
Yeah.
Just all the different things. And we feel like that maybe it's me and my wife, or maybe it's just the generational thing, that we're super cautious, looking everything up online.
Yeah.
What's the real deal here? And I think just the reassurance of somebody just telling you that you're doing good, and just encouraging that hey, the only thing you can do is your best, like, type situation. And everything's going to be fine. I can't think of anything really specific. Somebody tell you, don't screw that kid up. I don't know.
Yeah.
But
no, I mean, it's, I think parenting, like, you care a great deal about, and you really don't want to do it wrong, but no one really knows, like, if what you're doing the right thing or not as you do it. So having people looking and be like, hey man, I know, like, to see you, but to me, someone saying, hey, you're doing a good job, it just means someone saw you. And it's like,
yeah.
I don't need to know I'm right. I just need to know that you saw me, like, to some extent, and you're on my side also.
Yeah. It's they see like, hey, I see you're really trying, and I know that and you're succeeding.
Yeah,
I guess.
correct,
Like that kind of thing. Yeah.
Yep. And then only other thing for you is just like moment for self promotion. So like if you want to promote like your Instagram, Wild Feathers, upcoming tours, anything like that. Yeah.
Yeah, dude. I don't know, the Wild Feathers. We just got off this run, but we're going out with the Wallflowers.
That's cool.
And I've already seen a misprint on the one of the advertisements with the wild flowers, maybe wallflowers and wildflowers.
That's good. That's the flower tour.
I gotta, yeah. Flower Powers, the summer of love.
That's right.
So, no, our next deals are gonna go out with them, and that'll be fun, as I love that band.
Yeah.
And so the wildfeathers.com or @ and all the stuff, and mine's Joel Tyler King, but I don't post that often, but I might post more.
Who knows?
Everybody tells me I should. I'm like, what am I going to post?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's great. But yeah, man, that's pretty much all I've got for you. Besides that, man, really appreciate talking to you. Thanks for hanging out with us for a bit. And we'll catch you next time.
Yeah, dude. See you, brother.
Sweet. Thanks, man.
Thanks.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to the episode. Make sure to follow us on Instagram at The Imperfect Dads Podcast.
And make sure to subscribe and rate us 5 stars wherever you listen to us.
The music is provided by the Wild Feathers.
And all episodes are produced and edited by me.
Make sure to tune in Mondays for new episodes.